All right, everyone. Nate Silver is confusing his fans and detractors alike with his recent spiel about, oh, yeah, the midterms could go either way. Like, it's like 50-50. Anything could happen. I don't have a fucking clue. Leave me alone. Nate Silver has spent months drumming up, very visibly. Here's another way in which you lie. His official numbers have never said, oh, there's a 100% chance the Democrats regain the House. He's never said that. But the intonation of the articles he's written up until literally the last 48 hours have insinuated that. It's a roundabout way of lying without truly, literally, specifically lying. And let's not mince words. That's what's going on here. It's pie-in-the-sky rhetoric designed to keep the Democrats happy and reading his column. Then you tell them the hard, cold, lonely truth, which is, yeah, there is still like a 20-30% chance that the Republicans pull it out of their ass in the House. It is possible. It's roughly an inversion, by the way, numbers-wise of the Senate, where he's given the Republicans 80-85% chance. I think it's higher. I think they got a 95% chance of holding the Senate. I think they've got an 80% chance of gaining at least a couple seats. I think they do well in the Senate. I think his expectation, those numbers should be applied to them hitting 53 or 54 seats. I see a strong possibility that that happens. Again, in full disclosure, there's a possibility the Democrats at the end moment magically take the Senate. I just don't think that that's likely to happen. That's not my prediction. My official prediction is them holding it. In the House, I too have said it is fundamentally a 50-50 proposition. But here's the thing. Here's what Nate Silver declined to mention. He's beating around the bush and saying, well, I deal with odds. I don't deal with, I deal with statistics and odds and chance. I don't deal necessarily with 100% chance. I guarantee this will happen. This is official prediction. Okay, that's fine. What you should be saying is, hey, for a lot of these midterm races in the House that I'm counting on probably going blue, but we're not really sure, there's only one or two polls. That is, you're a statistician. You should be telling people the truth. If you only have one poll, it's 2 weeks outdated. With a lot of potential movement, the possibility it's an outlier, in some cases a small sample size, that's not enough to go on. You're taking an uneducated guess and assuming that because a lot of those polls that were conducted when the Republicans were considerably behind where they are now statistically, that those hold true and therefore they've got an advantage in a whole slew of races where they could very well be behind. You're making that guess. It's not an educated guess. You are assuming, and you're affixing the number 80-85% to the Democrats' possibility in part because a lot of those are races the Republicans are merely defending. Therefore, any that they lose, it's a piece off for them, but if they retain the race, it's really not a huge benefit. It's just the prevention of a loss. Well, that may very well be true. The thing is that doesn't necessarily mean that they lose the House. You've got all of these numbers, and they're all across the board. Like in Nate Silver's analysis, he's nudged it a little bit closer to the Republicans possibly retaining it. Like it was like they had a 1 in 9 chance. Now I think he's giving them a 2 in 9 chance or something. So they've improved slightly. And then if you listen to Young Turks, they're expecting the Democrats to win like 42 seats additional to the Republicans. Like they're going to soar ahead. They'll have a net gain of 21 or something like that, or some insane... No, a net gain of 42, actually. Sorry. Thus giving them a huge lead by about 22 seats total net, I believe. I think, if I'm calculating that correctly. Then you have like Fox News. They had someone in the other day, and they're saying, oh, we see a net gain of an average of 14, which straddles the line. Like that would narrowly, I believe, give the Democrats the House. But it's, well within margin of error. A couple seats here or there could, make the difference. That's more what I'm predicting. If the Democrats take the House, I don't expect it to be by Schenck numbers. And while my gut instinct is the Democrats have a greater chance, I'm willing to fully admit the reason why I'm giving it a 50-50 chance fundamentally is because there aren't enough numbers to go on. It's like in 2016, for the races I was predicting for the states and so forth. I had whole slews of polls. Any state that was considered even remotely close had 20 or 30 recent polls to go on by election time. It was easy, and during the primaries there was even more polling. It was easy, therefore, for me to calculate odds. I just assumed based on methodology, the polls are off by 5 or 6 points, Trump's got this in the bag. And I happened to be right, even though technically speaking, the odds were always against that. Odds were that the polls would be right. Odds are the polls are right now. You've got to understand, the fact that there was a huge discrepancy in 2016 does not mean there's a discrepancy now. The polls could be exactly on the aggregate. There's no reason to believe that a polling firm like YouGov is skewing things. And YouGov has showed the Democrats with a House advantage, certainly, where they've conducted polling. And by the way, a significant Republican advantage for several intriguing Senate races, I believe, including Arizona, if I remember correctly. What happens is, though, if I look at YouGov's polling with presidential approval, it's been riding the aggregate exactly, and it's right where I would anticipate being reality. Again, could be totally wrong. Rasmussen could be right. And we're about to see that, by the way, in the next 24 hours. People will go vote. By the way, fucking get ready. I don't care if you're sick. I don't care if you're injured. Fucking go vote. Have someone wheel you in a wheelchair. You're sick? Pop an ibuprofen. Not giving you official medical advice here. I'm blameless. Do as thou wilt. Fucking do what you need to do. There's always alcohol. There's all sorts of wonderful things that you can do to temporarily feel better. Not encouraging necessarily guzzling a couple beers before going to the polls, because that could be public intoxication. By the way, you can't wear political apparel to the polls. Unless you're a Black Panther, then apparently it's perfectly okay. You can stand there with a billy club or a machine gun if you want to. We saw that in 2016. It was funny, they thought that there were going to be like Trump mafia people in MAGA hats with baseball bats guarding the polling places, turning away anyone who wasn't white enough. Instead, you got exactly the opposite. You get a bunch of Antifa and fucking Black Bloc and Black Panther members. It's very funny. Now, here's what's going to happen. Nate Silver, I hope that the Democrats lose the House, because it'll be funny, because Nate Silver say, oh, see, I told you it was a 50-50 proposition. Yeah, I've spent months saying that it's like an 80-85% chance the Democrats grab the House, but this is my last piece, so it's the only one of import. And then if they gain the House, he'll say, oh, yeah, that 50-50 proposition thing, yeah, it's just to cover my ass. Don't worry, people. And he'll take credit and kudos for having been right all along. That's the way it works with these people. I'm telling you my ironclad prediction for the Senate. As far as the House, though, I'm perfectly willing to admit I have no fucking clue. I have no clue because the polling's not there. Gut instinct is Democrats narrowly take it. It's entirely possible the polls, though, are off by 2 or 3 points. I mean, you don't even have enough polls to take a proper reading in the 30 or 40 fucking different races that are close within the House. I don't know why the polling firms decided to ignore them. Because the House is, at this point, more important than the Senate has been for several weeks. The Senate flipped to looking very much a red retention for at least the last 3 weeks. And in the wake of the Veritas release on McCaskill, and in the wake of several good rounds of polling for Ted Cruz, it's pretty much a shoo-in. And they're trying to talk about there being a tie in Texas. Oh, Beto has narrowed it. No, he hasn't. That's a statistical outlier. I told Estevell the other night he tried to post that again to demoralize some Republican voters, I guess, in Texas. By the way, if you're in Texas, yeah, you should vote Cruz. I know you have to hold your nose because he smells like rotting cheese, but, it'll be funny. At least he's amusing because he's Lion Ted. Might even try. It would be really funny if he tried to primary Trump in 2020. He's like, Donald, the delegates, this time he's really got it. It'd be really, really funny. Jeb out of nowhere. I want to see a Ted Cruz Jeb Bush ticket. It would be the cringiest, most fucking funny, hilarious thing ever. I hope when Trump leaves, Ted Cruz is like, okay, second time's a charm. Hey, Jeb, you're going to be my running mate. I know, don't have me assassinated to be the third Bush president, by the way, please, okay? You have to sign a piece of paper saying that you won't have me, killed by a secret agent or something. It'd be so funny. I would love that so much, especially since they'd get their asses handed to them, but, then that's when you hope that you have a decent Democratic candidate. If the Republican primary winner is shitty, that's why the Democrats should have hoped that they had a better candidate. When they saw that Trump was going to be the person they were running against, they should have had someone capable of winning. But apparently they decided it was more important to honor all of the Clinton crime ring kisses that they had done, so they just went with it. They said, we're probably going to lose. Internal polling's not as rosy as the stuff we present to the public, but we can always cross our fingers. Yeah, 99% chance of a Hillary Clinton win. Yee! It's really funny. Nate Silver, though, is covering his ass because he's fully aware of the fact that there aren't enough numbers in a lot of these houses. And then he was trying to go after Dinesh there and make jokes about mathematics and stuff. I thought that was very funny. It's like, but Nate, you were totally wrong in 2016 on every possible count. You spent the entire cycle talking about how Trump had no chance, essentially. How he was destroying himself. He was practically politically suicidal, and he won. And people tried to tell you the numbers you were using were systemically wrong, and you didn't listen to them at all because you're sitting there thinking that you can twiddle around with them. You were doing what Karl Rove did in 2012. trying to unskew the polling numbers, but you ended up skewing them even further. You ended up being one of the most wrong of all of the individuals. Like Cenk was the closest thing. And again, we could see again, Cenk and Nate Silver being the most wrong people in the room. I hope that that happens. I think it'd be good for the country. Trump actually, I think, hopes that they lose the House, so maybe not as good for him, but for the Republicans, maybe then finally they'll fund the wall. That would be nice. Maybe they'll rip up some more gun control, pass another round of tax cuts. All of those would be good things. They would have a mandate, and they would hopefully get the fuck off the backs of the MAGA populists trying to blame them for your problems in not campaigning on a good economy. Fundamentally, it's the money, stupid. You know, you're not campaigning on that. Instead, a lot of these Republicans are campaigning on, well, I don't really agree with Trump on the migrant issue. I'm a Republican with a heart. Okay, wonderful. Okay, then you get reelected and then you have to look like shit when you have to fund the wall, probably. It'd be really funny. That's about all. Peace out.